So Juan Carlos Burgos was in his chest the whole fight. And, man, I got to give Xavier Martinez credit. He never looked rattled by it. I mean, somebody's in your chest for 3 minutes over 10 rounds. Usually you'll see a little give, like, oh, my God, a little panic. He seemed to relish it, and he was catching him on the way in with some good shots. A lot of back-and-forth action. I have no idea why the fans booed the decision. I mean...
Pissed me off, man.
That Burgos was coming forward, so he was getting the aggression, but it wasn't that effective. That's the thing. If you're coming forward and you're eating more clean shots than you're landing, how effective is your aggression? That's what we talked about weeks ago. Great fight. I like the fact that Martinez throws every punch there is. You saw a lot of uppercuts. You saw a lot of straight rights. You saw some left hooks. You saw some right hooks. I mean, he threw the kitchen sink at the dude, and props to him for staying up. I have no idea how he did.
Yeah, and the analysts kept saying, I feel like Martinez could have made it an easier fight if he wanted to, just jab. But I think that's what I liked about the dude. You know, he wanted to come forward. He was like, all right, you're the Mexican, I'm the Mexican-American. Let's see who's more Mexican. And they really fucking fought. And they went at it. And like you said, he was throwing punches from every angle. And they both kind of had that, like, Luis Castillo. Wait.
Yeah, Jose Luis Castillo.
Oh, yeah, Jose. I was like...
First name,
Castillo style, where like nothing is a wind up. Everything is from right here, right from the shoulders and right from the ribs. And it was just a hell of a fight, man. And you rarely see dudes continue to go at it like that, because inevitably at least one dude is like, I'm tired of taking this punishment. I'm gonna go back to the game plan and box. But these dudes went at it the entire fight, and at least this year alone, I haven't seen a fight like that in a minute.
Yeah, it was consistent, right? There was no lulls in the action. I don't agree with the announcer saying he could have fought a distance, because Burgos is taller, had a longer reach. How are you going to fight him at distance? Like, you can't really fight him at distance. The only thing you can do is wait for him to come to you and you counter him.
And look, man, I love my people, man. I love Mexicans. But, dude, I hate when Mexican boxing fans boo some shit like that at the end because their guy didn't win. You got a hell of a fight. Even if, let's be generous, and we gave Burgos like 4 or 5 rounds, which maybe he got, maybe, I don't know. What was the final scorecard? It was like, he only won like 1 round.
8-2 or 9-1.
Yeah, 1 or 2 rounds. I can understand you being upset with the refs. Boo when you hear the judges' scorecards, but then stop. Like, you don't have to boo Martinez all the way through his post-fight interview, man. That's his moment. He earned that shit. He fought a great fight, and he gave you something to cheer about for 12 rounds, which a lot of fighters don't do. So I don't know why you're giving him shit.
Yeah, it was mad ignorant. Like, you got the fight of the night, maybe one of the fights of the year, and you're booing him because of that? Just because your guy didn't get the decision? And if anybody with common sense will watch that fight, and maybe you give Burgos 4 rounds. I don't think you can give him anything more in a 10-round fight than 4 rounds. So... I mean, if you watched it, who landed the cleaner shots? It was clearly Martinez, not even close. So there was nothing to boo about. I don't know if they were just drunk or what.
Yeah, man. And Martinez, I haven't seen a fighter fight so good off the ropes in a long time, because he was throwing power like with his backs against the rope like that, which is really hard to do, which again tells you that all of his shit is coming straight from here. There's no fucking wind up, no none of that. So he's somebody to watch out for. I don't know if he's going to be one of the elites, because they were saying in his last fight he got knocked down twice. He came back and won, which is great and showing a lot of heart. And on one side of on one end of it, I really like that Mayweather. I feel like he might be putting his fighters in tough situations early, because he's like, look, either you're going to be great or you're not. Let's not waste 10 years of like you kind of winning fights here and there, and then you like lose the big fight. But I also am like, yo, man, I know what it's like to start from the bottom of something, which is acting. And had I been thrown into something like a series regular right from jump, I would have sucked. You have to like have these small parts, build yourself up, build your confidence, build your experience, and then take the big fights. And plus, you're kind of earning a little money here and there. You don't want to like be jumped in first. You make some money, and then that's it, because nobody thinks you're going to be one of the elites. So I see Mayweather's game plan, but I'm also worried about it.
Yeah, and to your point, like I think if you get handed everything too early and then you lose, there's no rebuilding yourself and coming back up. People are going to laugh and throw shade, and you're never going to be the same. So I like Mayweather's mentality. You got to earn that, and they put him through that doghouse sparring that people talk about.
That's right.
If you guys don't know, the Mayweather gym is known for having doghouse sparring, which is basically you try to kill the other guy in the ring. They don't have a round timer. It's just whoever is left standing at the dust up is done. Like there's a story going around that Mayweather once fought somebody for 35 minutes straight.
Wow.
So that's the kind of sparring they do.
Yeah.
They put you through hell in sparring. So when you get to the ring, it's like heaven, basically. So I like the build of Martinez. I don't know if he has the power to be elite at that weight. I mean, I think he's fighting at 130.
Yeah, that's a heavy.
That's a tough go. I mean, you're talking about Shakur. You're talking about Lomachenko. Yeah, eventually you can move up to lightweight and fight the Teos and the Ryan Garcias. I don't know about that. So, shout out to him. Great fight, entertaining fight. I thought he handled the interview, even though they were booing him. He handled it with class.
Yeah, he did.
And he called him out like, "Hey, man, like, y'all can boo if you want, but we put on a great fight for you."
Yep.
Like,
and they still booed. That's what pissed me off. Like, this dude could have easily been like, "Man, fuck y'all," like a lot of fighters do. And it's funny to watch, but he took it with class. And like, even when walking out of the ring, like, people were still booing him. And I'm like, guys, come on, man. Stop being so damn ignorant.
Yeah. So the next fight we had Danny Roman versus Francisco Espinoza. Espinoza looked.
Why am I blanking on this?
Weird. Danny Roman's left uppercut guy.
Yes.
Espinoza. Let me say something about Espinoza. Although he's Mexican, he looked like a half white, half Mexican guy that lived in Seal Beach or anything. I know so many guys that look like that guy. The kind of guy you come up to, you start speaking Spanish, you're like, nah, bro,
buddy.
I don't listen to this. I don't do all that, bro. Like, you gotta speak English, dog. Then he goes and hops in his Suburban with his white friends, and they throw on some Lil Pump and go eat some Taco Bell because that's their ideal of like authentic Mexican food. Like, he looked like that kind of guy, but he came to fight again. It was aggression. Man, Danny Roman is so technical.
What color shorts was he wearing? I'm like mixing up the main event with this.
He had the Mexico color shorts.
Okay.
So he had like red. And
the other dude had what? Oh, good. A plane's coming. Let's wait.
Yeah, so Espinoza was another example of ineffective aggression. Yes. First 3 rounds was pretty effective. He was kind of getting in Danny's kitchen. Danny hadn't figured out how to time him yet. And so he was landing some pretty big punches. But man, once Danny started figuring him out, and started catching him when he was leaning to that right with that left uppercut.
Yeah.
It got real scary.
It was nasty, man. And I hadn't seen Roman fight. I mean, I think you said I had seen him, but I don't remember watching him. And the dude is technical as fuck, man.
Yeah.
Like, I've never seen somebody throw so many uppercuts. I think he threw a double uppercut, which is insane when you think about doing it. And he was so technical and so sharp and had the best poker face you will ever see in a boxer ever, man. Because the dude, like, even when he was winning the entire fight, in my opinion, in a lot of ways. But like, he wouldn't get super excited. He also wouldn't get nervous. He just kept coming forward. And like you said, he timed him out great because I want to veer this into a quick topic.
Go ahead.
Within this fight.
Do it.
So, the dude he was fighting, what's his name again?
Espinoza.
The dude was more cut. Right. He looked like it's not the natural kind of cut you get if you're doing pull-ups or if you're doing push-ups and things like that. It's the kind of cut that you get if you're doing a lot of weights. And forever people have been saying in boxing that you just can't do it. It builds up too much lactic acid. You're going to get too tired. The power doesn't translate the way people think it might. Where do you stand with that? Is it an old school mentality of like, this is just how it's done, or do weights actually?
I do agree. I do agree that muscle is not good for boxing. You don't want those tight, heavy muscles. You want those lean, long muscles. Like if the best example I can think of is Kelly Pavlik's body. You remember Kelly Pavlik's body?
Yeah.
He was in shape. He had some muscle, but it was very long muscle.
Right.
That's the kind of body you want. Almost like a less cut football wide receiver.
Okay.
Like, you don't want those tight muscles like that a running back would maybe have with the big thighs and you don't want those type of muscles for boxing.
Yeah.
You're not gonna be able to keep your gloves up continuously over 12 rounds. So
so you don't think, let's say if you do have more weight and you're throwing that, like, you got that good torso twist, you don't think it's carrying any weight? And I agree with you. I'm just playing devil's advocate.
It does early, but once your technique starts to go and you got to carry those heavy muscles later in the fight, you're screwed. So you better get somebody out early.
Which is what he was trying to do.
Anthony Joshua's problem is in a lot of his fights. His power goes away later in the fight until he started doing the lean out. Like around the Klitschko fight, he started to lean himself out, but super early in his career, he was very, very muscular.
Yeah.
And he had stamina issues out the ass because he would get tired after about 3 or 4 rounds.
That's right.
So I'm definitely in agreement with the old school method of thinking.
Yeah, and there are things you can do with the weights. Like, what are those, the machine that you were saying you were using the other day, Mark, that you kind of like...
Oh, landmine press?
The landmine presses and those where you could kind of work your obliques and do that.
Yeah.
So you can do those kind of weights. But if you're doing like bench press and like curls, it's just going to do you a disservice, man. And I think that it was case in point watching this fight, because watching Espinoza? Watching Espinoza try to go after Roman, he was trying to get him out earlier, and he looked like the aggressor the entire fight. But once Roman, like you said, started timing him and tagging him, around the 5th or 6th round, like Espinoza's energy and punch rate was just declining steady. And he was like getting connected against flush every time. And so it goes to show you Roman's technicality, how smart he is in the ring, how nothing riles him up. It's the kind of fighter you would want. And like when we were talking about building the perfect fighter, he has a lot of those attributes that I'd never seen before.
He's got a serial killer disposition almost, like that Iceman look. Got those deep shark eyes where just you can't get a read on him. That would be scary to look across from his ring. Man. Like you get him with a big shot, his face doesn't change. You're like, okay, fuck my life. That fight could have ended really if his corner was really looking out for him after the 8th round.
Yeah, and they were lying to him. They were lying to him, saying if you win this last round, you win the fight.
No, sir. No, you don't. No.
Would you? Sometimes I side with the corner, and I'm like, I would have done the same thing. You know, it's not going to help him to tell him that he's not winning. But I think the better thing to do is like, yeah, you need this round.
I would always be honest. If I was a trainer, I'd always be honest.
Yeah.
Because I don't think lying to them does them any good. I don't. If they're asking, they know. To me, they know. Every boxer who's in the ring knows whether or not they're losing the fight. They may pretend like they don't know after the fight. Oh, I thought I was winning. Sure, you did, buddy. I think it's just a pride thing. Like the example I always think of when somebody says something like that is Felix Trinidad's dad. Do you remember when he was fighting Bernard Hopkins, and after every round of getting his ass, when he goes to his dad, he's like, "Am I winning?"
Oh, really?
And his dad's like, "Yes, son, you're doing good." It's like,
oh no,
no, man, no, you're losing every round.
See, that's the bad part of it. And there, you can do a positive critique. You can be like, "Hey, you need this one. Where it's close, but you need this one." That at least lets a fighter know, okay, shit, it's close. I got to turn this shit up. As opposed to being like, nah, I'm winning it, and having the fucking De La Hoya Trinidad thing where it's like, nah, you got it in the bag, just run this last round.
Yeah, which was still a robbery in my eyes. I mean, Trinidad won 4 rounds.
Yeah,
but,
I agree.
Also, how does that person take the corner's advice seriously if you're lying to him and they think they're winning? What's their incentive to change their game plan? Whereas if I tell you, hey, man, you're losing, this is what you need to do to stop losing this fight, then I would think they'd be more adept to going, okay, let me do what you're telling me so I can win. So, 100%. Yeah, that's my opinion.
Yeah, 100%.
And to the main events, Mr. Figueroa.
I just don't like the Figueroa brothers, man. And not personally, it's never personal. I don't like their style. I don't like watching them fight. It's not fun to me. It's not enjoyable. Congrats on the win, man, because you earned that shit. Is it Nery or
Nery. Luis Nery.
Nery?
Yeah.
Nery came out, and he looked like the favorite, and he was coming out sharp, and I liked what he was doing, and I had never seen him fight before. But you did tell me that he struggled cutting the weight. Yeah,
at the weigh-in, he looked like Casper the Friendly Ghost. And he actually hugged his trainers right after he weighed in. And actually was DMing some of the people that listen to our cast. And I was saying, I don't know, man. He really struggled to make that weight. And he's moving up. So I would have thought making the weight wouldn't have been an issue.
What?
Yeah. He's already small for the division he was in. But he moved up because he's having problems making weight for whatever reason.
Okay.
And, yeah, it played out kind of how I suspected it would once I saw that weigh-in.
Yeah.
He just ran out of gas.
It was just anticlimactic, man, because he was coming, and I feel like he had Figueroa's card. And then Figueroa kept coming, and you know, I will say this, shout out to Figueroa, because he came in, and I feel like he was trying to rush from the beginning and got clocked, like the first punch. Got clocked, and I felt like he backed off a bit. Second or third round kept coming in, pressure. Nery started kind of just backing up, trying to catch him coming in. And Figueroa kept coming. I feel like Nery didn't have him figured out. Plus the fatigue started coming in. Figueroa was taller, so he was kind of putting weight on him. So Nery mix all this bag up with like not being able to make weight and struggling at the weigh-in, and then now this, it just leads to a bad situation, man. So if you're not taking your training seriously, this is what happens.
Somewhere in Tijuana, Mexico, Antonio Margarito was watching that fight with one eye, smiling, because that's what he did. He basically bullied him to that win. He was pulling down his head. He was hitting him behind the head.
Yep.
You saw the forearm to the neck.
Yep.
I'm not calling him a dirty fighter because the referee didn't call it.
Yep.
You do what you got to do to win. This is a game of survival.
Yep.
He fought a smart fight. He wore Nery down. Every time they were in the clinch, he was hitting, holding, and hitting. He was doing every little bit to gain the advantage, and it worked. Like you said, am I really impressed with his style? No.
Nah.
Not really.
Do I want to watch him again? No.
Yeah. I do want to see Stephen Fulton fight him because I like Fulton a lot.
Yeah.
But shout out to Figueroa. Like you said, he came out, he survived that big punch that got landed in the first round. He recovered, and he stuck to his game plan. He was obviously the bigger guy if you watch the fight. I would say he probably had about 10 to 15 pounds on Nery, in addition to being 5 or 6 inches taller with
and longer.
6 or 7 inch in reach advantage.
Right.
I just have a pet peeve in boxing. I do not like tall guys that don't throw the straight punches. Like, if you have a reach advantage and you never use it, it just bugs me. Like, why would you do that to yourself? This is a fight. Why don't you use every advantage you would have? Why would you smother all your work with your head in somebody's chest when you got 6 or 7 inches of reach? I just don't.
You think he's trained that way, or that's just how he wants to fight, like Chico?
I think it's a little of both.
Yeah.
I think he probably wants to fight that way, and he resists the training to make him not fight that way.